ECW was one of the coolest things for me growing up as a wrestling fan because it was so different from what you were seeing anywhere else, whether that was WCW, WWF, even down to like what you had to do to go through to, see it. And then obviously, as anyone that's watched it knows, like the stories and everything were also cutting edge. And I agree with Tommy Dreamer when he says that it was the catalyst for what we would later see with the Attitude Era. In your thoughts, what do you think it is about ECW now that we're so far removed from it that's made it have a legacy that's stuck all this time?
It was a revolution. It was, you don't realize how bad wrestling was before it, but it was terrible. It was all big 280-pound guys grabbing a chin lock and sitting in it. They weren't working the hold. They would just sit there in a hold for 5 minutes, wait for the crowd to come along if they were going to come along, and if not, then they wouldn't do anything. They just sit there longer. And the matches were just, it wasn't, the athleticism wasn't great, but the storylines weren't great either. You need both, but you need the storylines more than you need anything. You need characters and stories. And so the show was wrestling was so bad at the time, so it needed something new. It needed an injection, an infusion of. Also, it needed to be topical. Wrestling has always been in a bubble, and that's why wrestlers had mullets 10 years after they went out of style. They did. They had them. They still some. I mean,
it's coming back these days.
Yeah,
just look at Dirty Dom.
But the wrestlers had no idea, and the rest of the world was changing around them, and nobody does anything, topical or current. I mean, Billy Gunn and them and Road Dogg got over it first just for wearing a South Park shirt, and then of course their talent showed through, but it was the South Park shirt that got them over in the first place, just something that's topical, and so ECW was topical. They played current music, they played trendy music. And not just metal. They played all kinds of stuff. They played everything from Tupac to 3-Pac. No, and they had different styles. They brought in the guys from Mexico, so that was unique. They had the smaller guys, the cruiserweights, who could do great matches. Then they had the brawling heavyweights who could brawl. Fighting in the stands, the crowd bringing stuff like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was just the first time I saw the show, I was like, I